We're discussing the White House is joining the Biden campaign in pushing back against recent video clips going viral that make President Biden look as though he's confused during public events and other appearances. The Republican accounts circulating many of the clips responded, claiming the videos are unedited and promised to keep posting them.
A lie.
And also just if something is...
Was it a cheap fake for him to fall off of the bike? No. Was it a cheap fake that he's falling downstairs, falling upstairs? It's so bad they had to get the man special shoes.
Right.
Because he can barely walk.
And again,
we're talking about Morning Joe, which now should be called Morning of Lies. We move on to this curious case of Joe Biden. So we have all seen the way the president seems to be deteriorating before our eyes over the last several months. I mean, faster than a wet piece of tissue. But Democrats and their surrogates have relegated the answer to this in 2 words: cheap fakes. This is their response to what we are seeing going on with Biden. Take a look here. This is clip number 1.
We're discussing the White House is joining the Biden campaign in pushing back against recent video clips going viral that make President Biden look as though he's confused during public events and other appearances. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre blasted the use of the misleading videos, which are edited to make the president look bad and then circulated by right-wing media and allies. Take a look.
They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right wing critics of the president have a credibility problem. These manipulated videos, and it is again done in bad faith.
Wow. That's all they've got.
The Republican accounts circulating many of the clips responded, claiming the videos are unedited and promised to keep posting them.
A lie.
And also just if something is unedited, it's
really
one angle,
lies.
not showing the whole story.
How about this, though, Mia? They lie about their lies, which, of course, you would expect liars to lie about their lies.
Oh, I mean, we're talking about Trump.
But they're lying about their cheap fake. They're not bad.
Post.
By the way, I got to say this one more time. They're only helping Joe Biden. They're only lowering expectations. They do it before every State of the Union address, and then afterwards, they're so freaked out that Biden did well, they say he must have been on cocaine. A sort of, 2024 version of, maybe an Eric Clapton song in the background, but they're doing the same thing for the debate. They lower expectations.
Yeah.
They say he's not cogent, and then he goes out and he does a really good job. And they're like, wait, what happened?
The Washington Post has reported about how these cheap fakes were used to attack Biden during his recent trip to Normandy. And we showed you last week the Trump campaign sharing a clip which appeared to show President Biden at the G7 summit wandering off from other world leaders before the Italian prime minister comes over to alert him about a group photo. But when you see the video from a different angle, you see the whole story. After a skydiver landed in front of the president and other leaders, President Biden turns to his left where there are troops. The president appears to say something to them and gives them the thumbs up before he's tapped on the arm by the Italian prime minister.
Okay. It still is ridiculous. Nobody else is looking at this paratrooper or whoever he was. It's ridiculous that he did it.
First of all, when he wandered off, he was not looking at those paratroopers, number one. And then when he got a little bit closer, he was looking up. He wasn't really looking down to see what was going on. He was looking off to the left. And until the paratrooper kind of moved to his left in his sight, that's when he sort of maybe had a moment of cognition that he realized that, but that other, whoever that person was, still had to come and tap him to say, no, turn around, Mr. Degenerative Octogenarian. So this is a lie, a lie, a lie. These people they've been lying to our face, but now they are using their pulpits to do it even more so. They want us to know, what is this old saying, who you going to believe, me or your own lying eyes? That's what they're doing. And many people, unfortunately, are believing it.
I hope not. I really hope not. I mean, this whole idea of cheap fakes, and it's a kind of like, they couldn't say deep fake because we know deep fake is when you use AI to totally change whatever is occurring on video.
Fake, faux, deep, cheap.
So now they're saying cheap fakes, which makes no sense. And it's a clear response to this. There is a easy way to tell what is what. Show the whole tape. But they don't want to do that because they know that this will show how crazy and deranged this president is. The same thing what happened with the tapes of that we wanted released from Robert Hur's interview. Remember that?
They still haven't done it.
No, they won't release it because they know it makes him look very bad.
It's one thing to read something, it's another thing to hear it. And then when you can read it and hear it together, you get all the tones and the intonations and the inflections, and you can get a little bit of the environment when you're hearing it as well as reading it. They don't want that. But this made me think about, we were talking about these 45 goals of the communists, and one of the, a couple of them, but certainly one of them talks about the press and what they are doing. I think it's number 20. It says to infiltrate the press. These are the communist goals. And then number 21 says to gain control of key positions in radio, TV, and motion pictures. Well, there you go. If you didn't have anything else, these two certainly apply to what has been happening and what is going on with our media in collusion with the government. Our government, again and again, all this is really against us because the government gets its money from taxpayers. That's it.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, I mean, now the Democrat Party has gone full commie. They have gone full commie, and you can clearly see it. We always mention this, many years ago, the communists had an agenda. They wrote down 45 principles of what they knew or needed to take place in order to infiltrate and push Marxism within America, and they are clearly doing it. This was one. The media has become propaganda. If anything, the clear resolution to all of this is show the full tape.
Right.
The same thing with Obama and him walking him off. Everybody always, that's not some type of made up thing where we see time and time again, people are grabbing this old man's hand and directing him to where he's supposed to go.
That's it. Again, no matter what, they are going to defend this presidency, this man, if you will. That's not what the media is supposed to do. The media are supposed to just lay out the facts and information. And of course, if there's an opinion piece or opinion column, you can state your opinion. But for basic news, they are not. This goes against our First Amendment, certainly. And it certainly goes against Americans who are paying many of the people, government workers anyway, period, at whatever level, we're paying them. But now they are working against us and our own best interest, our own interest for our country. They are turning things upside down. We better wake up.
Absolutely. And it wasn't a cheap fake for him to fall off of the bike.
No.
Was that a cheap fake? Was it a cheap fake that he's falling downstairs, falling upstairs? Are these cheap fakes? Is it cheap? It's so bad they had to get the man special shoes.
Right.
Because he can barely walk.
And again, we're not making fun of him because he's aging. Again, we know people who have aged. I certainly know people who have aged in this direction. But the fact is that the people who are handling him, they are the ones who would typically, we would call them elder abusers. And they should be brought up on charges. Because truth be told, Biden doesn't know if he's coming or going. He doesn't even know if he's about to poop his pants.
Yeah. I mean, was that a cheap fake? I mean, and again, we need, it is elder abuse, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And you can tell, once again, these people do not have the best interest at heart for American people. Anyone with eyes would know and can see that this man should not be running a country.
Right. He's not. He's not really.
Right, he's not. And that's what it is. The people behind him, the puppeteers behind Biden, Joe Biden, want to keep him as this figurehead because they are the ones running the country.
Right. I'm going to call them the Puppeteers.
Oh, God.
I'm going to call them the Puppeteers now. Yeah.